1, 2, 3. Hello.
Ahoy!
Ahoy. And welcome to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. I am your host.
You again? Who are you?
That's a good question. I am your host, Davin Hairbag Slabhorn. And with me, as always, my co-host.
You know who I am.
Well, introduce yourself then.
I am today I am Andrakis, but normally I am Andre Mayet, your co-host and fun partner on this X adventure we're going on through the annals of 90s X-Men cartoons. It's been a good ride so far. Another run.
One person for 100 miles.
Oh, hold on now. I didn't sign up for that. Look, you're going to take me on a boat trip. That's a whole other conversation, Devin.
Yeah, well,
Well,
the weather's getting nicer.
It is getting. I'll have to go on a nice boat trip. Although I don't. As long as your intentions are pure.
Oh, the purest. We are here to review the season 2, episode 2 of X-Men the Animated Series. Till Death Do Us Part 2.
Too many parts. Death Do Us Part 2. Part 2.
Part 3.
It's too much. It's too goddamn much.
Written.
And you know what? And this one's continued again. And the next one's not called Till Death Do Us Part 3.
It should be.
Damn right it should be.
This one's written by Michael Eden, so I was wrong. I thought the two-parter was written by the other Edens, the brothers, and they both write for the show. And but yeah, they teamed up on this one, so that's pretty cool.
Cool, yeah. I my rating was still, like I say, my rating was low, but what was it, a 7 last week? So like in theory, 70 out of 100 is pretty good. But this one,
it was just low compared to mine.
That is true. But that happens sometimes. We're not gonna, they can't all be boat trips, Devin. They have to hit a storm every once in a while.
That's true.
Little rocky weather, and a little rock the boat a little bit, see what's going on. As you can tell, I'm feeling much better from last week. I'm feeling my old self again, and I'm not wearing a robe, so things are coming up in the world. But
I see your healing factor is working well.
It is. It's gone into overdrive. Other stories I will tell at whatever my segment about me bitching is. We'll get to that. But otherwise, here we are with part 2. The Till Death Do Us Part 2. Papa Electric Boogaloo, and and we find our. Do you want to do the previously on? Are you going to play this?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Previously on X-Men.
There's usually more.
There usually is more.
Enjoy your revenge, Morph. I know I am.
I feel like there's more than just that, but
oh my.
Just the two of us. Another person for 100 miles.
We were wrong. It's not just the two of us.
I apologize for my I apologize for my lateness. Thank you very much, Davin. Andre.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for joining us.
We are joined by Jaemeel Robinson from Live Long and Podcast. Co-creator, Live Long and Podcast.
Oh Lord, I hate that tagline.
Co-creator?
The co-creator?
I left the project many moons ago, and I came back.
Well, you're still co-creator. David Lynch left Twin Peaks, and he came back, and he was still co-creator of Twin Peaks. So,
I like to think I'm Neil Gaiman of this Miracle Man kind of sandwich.
So Alan Moore was there first and then left, and then you have to come and mop it up and finish things. Is that your role?
Yes, I'm the more cheery one, so not the cynical.
Well, yeah. We had a good conversation with Uko Lamak in my podcast about the two dark sides of English comics. It was like a dark coin with Alan Moore on one side, which is all nihilism, and then Grant Morrison on the other side, which is like nihilism but with hope at the end. So it's like it's like two sides of a dark coin. One's a little one at least has a hopeful spring, which is probably why I like Grant Morrison so much. But I do love Alan Moore as well. So
I know I'm very conflicted sometimes.
I'm a nihilist at heart, so they both speak to me in a lot of ways. Anyway, welcome to the show. We're just getting into the recap. I assume you're caught up. You've watched the episode.
Oh yes, I did.
Excellent. And
but that reminds me, Andre, we have a brand new segment today.
We do. Ooh. It's odd that it falls on the same day that Jaemeel joins us.
Weird, huh?
There's no such thing as coincidence.
That's true.
On this show.
It's all connected.
So, Jaemeel, you watched all the episodes leading up to this episode?
I did.
In preparation for this?
For this
is there anything
you watched
about
an episode and 2 episodes? Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I'm a type of person who doesn't like watching something in between. So I have to watch things in a consecutive order.
That's a good thing we didn't hit you at like season 6 episodes, like 12. You got a week, cram it all in.
A little bit more lead time I would have needed. Just a little bit.
Just a hair.
So before we get started on season 2, episode 2, Jaemeel, is there anything you would like to say about season 1 or the episode previous?
It's been a while since I've last seen the series, and I was a very avid watcher when it initially came out. It played a part in terms of my love of comics and love of X-Men in general. I think deep down, I will always appreciate these characters more so than others, just because I've been with them the longest. So despite, love at first sight with Maggot, other characters have from these series has stayed with me longest. Notably, Jubilee is one of my favorite comic book characters overall. Not always treated the best, both in the animated series and in comic books, but I love me some Jubes.
I was thinking about that.
I actually half expected you to show up with Alice here tonight. But I don't know.
I'm thinking about that today, about how I don't really know what's going on with Jubilee in the comics recently, like where she's at in the X world.
She's got a kid named Shogo who turns into a dragon when he goes to Otherworld.
How old is this kid? Where are we at in the timeline?
Oh, she didn't give birth. She didn't give birth.
Adopted.
Yeah. She adopted a baby that turns into a dragon.
Yes, she was a vampire.
She was.
And she's not a vampire anymore. She has her powers back.
Okay.
Yeah, because everybody does because of mutant resurrection.
Was it that whole X-Men versus Dracula storyline with the that she became a vampire?
No, way later.
The other X-Men versus Dracula storyline.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Not the Bloodstorm one, or the one where Wolverine. No, the one where he turns into a vampire is a what if, actually. Never mind.
Yeah.
But not the Bloodstorm one.
Afterwards.
I'm surprised his healing factor would allow him to become a vampire. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, what if? All right. Well, Andre, will you take her away?
No, the moment has passed.
I'm just kidding.
End of episode. All right, so we joined Cyclops and Jean, who are enjoying their honeymoon on a little yacht with some of the stuff that you were playing earlier with the nobody's around for miles. It's funny because every line Scott has is like a bedroom line. It's like, gee, we're all alone. No one's around for 100 miles. And then she just turns and it's like the exact bedroom response to it. She's like, Scott. everything is like one big
by sundown.
Yeah, everything is one big foreplay. Like this whole interaction seems to be one big.
It's their honeymoon.
Boat-based foreplay. Yeah, that's true. But it's just I just find it funny. It's all very you're married. I think the pretense might need to fall away now. Although they're not technically married, but they don't know that yet. So
We were just
they're
talking
headed-
about going on a sailing trip, the two of us, Andre. How did you think we were gonna?
Well, I didn't think bedroom voices were going to be involved, but apparently I misunderstood.
Oh.
What I misunderstood, and I will play. I will
Oh,
politely.
well, hey,
decline your
Jaemeel, you want to
invitation.
go on a sailing trip?
Don't do it, Jaemeel.
Andre ruined it.
As long as I get to play "Sailing" by Christopher Cross on repeat.
Oh, sure.
Oh, it's a good song.
Oh, Repito.
You can do the Sting version.
Oh, there you go. We can mix it up a little bit.
So when we see them in their new wedded bliss, we also catch Beast, who was trapped in the danger room last episode by Morph, who set the amp up to 11 when it comes to danger room danger, and Beast has been kind of dodging all these various saws and lasers and weapons that are shooting at him because it's all the way up. To which he has
It's up to 11.
Just you need a little extra bit to put you over the top. He always sounds so happy, even when he's like in a dire, deathly situation. Like, well, this isn't what I programmed. Like he's just,
But it's quite a workout nonetheless.
yeah, it's like he's always looking for the silver lining.
I have questions about this danger level of the danger room.
Yeah.
If it is so dangerous that it can ultimately destroy the danger room, like,
I know, like it seems counterproductive to put that option in, especially when
self-destruct.
Well, then, especially when he B says something along the lines of like, "Well, when he can't beat the danger room, let the danger room beat itself," basically, and like moves out of the way while it shoots a missile that goes through the side of the danger room, and creating a large hole for him to escape. So, like the fact the danger room can destroy itself does seem pretty like it seems like a waste of money.
yes.
That's for sure.
What if someone's walking in the hallway?
Some new recruits just
Xavier's
got
got the sweet patent money.
Patent for what?
Sweet patent
They
money.
say that, but to what? What's he patenting?
Well, was his father like? He doesn't really pay much attention to that now.
Well, I should hope he does.
Royals.
Those are the finances. All these kids' futures are in his hands. I mean, he's got to monitor those finances.
Like, I don't believe
Probably something for the war.
I don't believe Wolverine leaves the danger room on 5. He has it up at 11 all the time. Right? So
Yeah,
I
he
just
has it
imagine
set to
there's a lot
Cyclops
of
Sentinel.
damage.
Especially when Cyclops and Jean Grey are getting married. He has that special turn every enemy into Cyclops option that he turns on where just to get his rage out.
You can have her.
You can have her.
My favorite line, like, this series has stuck with me. Even though it's been a while since I watched it, there's quotes that are part of my vernacular, like "Don't worry, Rogue, I parked the car." That's one.
Yeah, that's classic.
When I enter a room, it's like, "Everyone can relax. Gambit has returned." And then thirdly, I always love the Scott's waiting for me. So am I.
So am I. Just
And he looks
smoldering
at the picture he has of the two of them. Lies on his bed.
Yeah. When you have a girl that you like and she's with someone else, the most non-psycho thing you can do is get a picture of them together and frame it and leave it in your bedroom so you can see it every day when you come in and just stew about it. Like, I mean, think a guy that's been living for 100 years on this planet would figure out some coping mechanisms at this point. Before he had, what do you do before he had a danger room where you could make everybody, Scott Summers and just rip them to shreds?
Well, speaking of coping mechanisms, if I remember the end of that sequence when we actually come back to his room where it's trashed, you see the picture frame on the floor.
That's ripped.
And it's not even ripped. There's a gigantic hole in between them, a round circle. So you're like, coping mechanisms, X-rated indeed.
Screw you, Summers.
Maybe he's actually in love with Scott, and that's where all this comes from. Maybe he's in love with both of them, and then he just can't deal with his emotions. He's so repressed.
Actually, in the new X-Men type of setup, they live in like a kind of house, like Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, White Queen, and they have like adjoining rooms.
No, White
Right?
Queen doesn't live there. I
Sorry,
don't
White
think.
Queen doesn't live there.
So
Sorry.
are White Queen and Scott not together anymore in the comics?
No.
Not
No.
really.
No,
But it
I don't think so.
it plays up like she might be having a bit of that dalliance as well.
Mhm.
With the whole Jean Wolverine.
Yeah, I
Scotty.
remember reading about that because it made the headlines and all the comic sites. I'm out of like regular X-Men stuff. I mostly just read Spider-Man now as far as ongoing series go. But there's so much X-Men stuff. It's hard to keep track.
So much.
So much. And like I remember it made the rounds on social media when they were like, oh, they're couple swapping, and because Jean has a door that goes to Wolverine's room and Cyclops' room. So it's like, well, power to it, man.
Fading.
Well, I thought Disney is
consenting adults.
introducing new levels of relationship. Isn't that what the song means? Love is an open door.
That's right. Polyamory is becoming a part of Disney canon apparently, and I'm here for it. Why not? I'm an open-minded guy. Power to them. Consenting adults and whatnot. All right. So back to the story. As he escapes the giant hole he created in the side of the danger room, we cut to Morph, who is having an internal conflict standing outside the X-Mansion, trying to remember, that he used to be an X-Man, but then what turned him to this villainous path. But before he can kind of finish his thought process, Sinister arrives and reminds Morph about how the X-Men abandoned him. And as I'd like to just reiterate, as I did last week, they totally abandoned him. And they didn't even check to see if he was alive. They just were like, "Oh, he's dead, bye," and they just took off. He was still alive. He took the hit. He rolled into a bush, and they're like, "Well, he's dead. Goodbye." And they got in the jet and took off. I mean, I know they
to make sure you are still committed to our purpose.
Yes, Sinister is making sure that Morph is carrying out his evil plan, his evil and incredibly vague plan, which we'll talk
until
about
he explains it later in the episode.
No, that doesn't help all that much.
Which it's still pretty vague.
It's still pretty vague. That's for sure. But anyway, as the newlywed X-Men reach the island, they are attacked by a brightly colored man who we know that he's not named in the episode, but we know as Ruckus, who has rather. Yeah, who's called the boat? He's doing this fancy little running on the rocks too to run up to the boat. He's like, "Ahoy!" and he's skipping across the rocks in this nice way. He's like, "I have a message for you." And then Scott's like, "What is it?" And then he's
Go
like,
ahead, shoot.
"Ah!" And he just screams, and his powers blow the boat up and send it to the shore. And he's like, "Why all the subterfuge? Why not just walk out and shoot at it?" I love the theatrics. They're not necessary, but I just love that he has this purple coat and this bright hair, and he just struts up to the rocks in this fun little way. "Ahoy there!" Is that him? It's not focusing.
Yeah, it's Ruckus.
It's Ruckus.
Yeah.
And I like how almost all of these villains that are part of Sinister's little crew here, known as the
Nasty Boy,
the Nasty Boys, which aren't named in the episode, but always makes me think of the '80s wrestling tag team.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I was thinking about that the other day, and this is a side note, but we tend to go in tangents on this show, Jaemeel, so bear with us.
We do.
I love tangents.
I was thinking there's not enough. There's wrestling is because I'm a professional wrestler as well, and wrestling has so many interesting side characters and names that I'm surprised aren't recycled in comics more often. Like the Nasty Boys, that's a fine name. It kind of works for these guys. It's kind of odd because Sinister seems very well put together, and to have a group called the Nasty Boys under him doesn't really seem on brand. But I was reading. So there's Marvel's English comics in the '80s. They had characters that were unique there to the English comics that did do a bit of crossover with the American side of things. So one of the characters who has appeared in regular Marvel comics since is Death's Head, who is a bounty hunter robot from the future. And I got a collection of some of the English comics. And in one of them, he's fighting a guy called The Undertaker. And I was like, that's an interesting name that I feel like wrestling has co-opted. It's really hard to make a new character called The Undertaker without thinking about the wrestler, The Undertaker.
Was that part of... I think I'm aware of those characters from Marvel Universe Trading Cards Series 3.
Yep.
And they had a whole section dedicated to British
UK
comics.
characters,
Yeah. That's great. It's all flooding back to me now.
That's right. There was unique Hulk comics that were Hulk and Spider-Man comics that were just for the UK market, and then they had some other characters that were unique. I have when I was in Ireland, actually, I got, or was it Scotland? One of the two. I got a collection that they had at the comic store there of like a bunch of their UK heroes, that Marvel UK heroes that had their own little miniseries. It's a collection of each miniseries. There's only 4 of them. They're all under some imprint called Frontier or something. That's cool. It's just like a little chunk of Marvel history that you don't really know a lot about because you didn't grow up with it.
That's
Anyway,
awesome.
yeah, it's cool. So the Nasty Boys attack. We get Ruckus. We have a large guy who I believe is called Slab with giant eyelashes
Slab.
for some reason. He's got these massive eyelashes that like roll out. Who basically is just a big powerhouse. We have a purple guy that's stretchy like Mr. Fantastic called Gorgeous.
George.
And this Gorgeous is Gorgeous George? Is that his full name?
Gorgeous George. Yeah.
Oh, so they just ripped that
The
off
wrestling.
too.
Yeah,
Wow.
another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote this is whoever wrote these characters were initially were they called the Nasty Boys in the comics?
They were, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So Gorgeous George, who's this purple stretchy guy, and then the final member of the Nasty Boys is Hairbag.
Hairbag.
It took me a minute to realize that his costume was actually just all hair, because like his hair is quite short, and then later on when it comes up, which we'll get to, that his name is Hairbag, I realized that he's not wearing a costume; he's just furry. It's just all hair, which I thought was interesting.
These are
But yes,
fashion now in Genosha, but on you, it looks good.
that's Gorgeous George there, putting the collars on Jean and Scott after they beat them up and take their powers away. Sinister. There's Gorgeous George with Sinister there.
Yeah.
Look at those gorgeous locks. Those purple dreadlocks
Yeah,
the guy's rocking.
It's the name for a reason.
That's right. So
Got a sexy accent too.
I believe I may have failed to mention when Sinister showed up to remind Morph about his where his allegiances lie. He mentioned that he was going to take care of Cyclops and Jean by himself. So he somehow managed to light speed his way to this island after that happened. Because we cut to them getting the collars, and then we cut to Beast and Rogue, who were arguing that Beast wasn't where he was supposed to be earlier, when it was all related to Morph's doings when he was telling people to go to certain places.
I didn't say I'd be there and then never show him a shaggy blood.
I like what Beast when they first get there, though.
There's in the media, not a combination for a reported gun-toting troublemaker like myself.
These peace officers and the media. Yeah, like in the last episode, Storm got shot by the police several times.
They used their energy at full energy. They shot full energy. This is full energy. I just love that. I love that. Like in the near future, somewhere there's going to be cops that use energy weapons that scream things like "full energy."
Full energy. Why did Beast have to open the window? If Beast had to hop all the different levels to get to the floor,
Yeah.
to open the window for Rogue to just fly through, wouldn't it be just easier?
to just fly up.
And she also could have just carried him up. Like, it's like we didn't have to do like 90 flips to get up the side of the building. You just carry him up, let him go.
She was still angry, passive aggressive nature there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So so they go up to visit Storm in her hospital room, and she's still unconscious from the full energy blast she took before. I like this idea of like in the world we live in with the Black Lives Matter movement and all that stuff, where people are getting shot by cops. It's just, I like this future where it's going to be trying to cover up murdering people with full energy weapons instead of just like, why was your weapon turned to full energy? It's like, oh well, I felt threatened. It's like, half energy would have put him down. No, not that guy. It had to be full energy.
I was slipping on the snow that she was creating out of thin air.
That's right.
I felt threatened.
That's why I felt threatened. I'd use full energy. It's like so anyway, they sneak in the hospital, then they talk to as the doctor walks in and sees them, and then they have to leave. It kind of seemed like an odd little scene, because it doesn't happen very long. They just go in, look at Storm, we still knocked out, and then the doctor sees him and they have to leave again. So we cut to
She was shot a lot of times. The audience needed to know she was not dead.
Just need a reminder she was still alive, I guess. They showed her wheeling her way in an ambulance kind of at the end of the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
So then we cut to old Graydon Creed Jr., who has Jubilee tied up now at the old Friends of Humanity warehouse.
Belongs to humanity, a humanity cleansed of this foul mutant disease.
Yeah, because history
Is
always
he talking about COVID?
history always
It's mutating.
history always reflects kindly on people that talk like that. It's like, we need to
Certainly
remove the
does.
disease, purge the earth. You wipe away.
Definitely never heard that before.
No, genetic cleansing. Nothing bad's ever happened. Using phrases like that.
The creative things they came up with for this cartoon.
Well, as I
is
mentioned
amazing.
before, this group is very.
People have spoken.
You call this bunch of sickos normal?
Julie doesn't hear
The allegories for the the white supremacists in this group, it continues to go on, aptly so. But
A little heavy-handed in the sense that the
yeah.
entire crowd is one denomination, but that they have one of the
One guard.
guys holding. Yes,
one of the
one
guys.
guard.
Because his last episode, I was looking for that too. I said like they seem predominantly white, but I think there's a black guy there, and I noticed it was the guard this time, and that's who I noticed last time. But that's the only guy in the whole crowd.
Only one.
It's only one. The one. I'm sure there's some Black Trump supporters out there, so there must be some people that are just like not maybe just buy into it a little too far, or don't read the room right, I guess.
There's a whole bunch of Uncle Ruckuses around. If I
he's just standing there. You think at some point he's just standing there looking around, it's just all angry white people, angry white person, angry white person, angry white person, angry white person, angry white person.
That's Roku. It's French.
Maybe I'm in the wrong group here. So I wonder, when they get rid of the mutants, where do you think they're going to go next?
During the break room, and he's like, "Man, let's
Can we get some more black people in here?"
What's going on? During the potluck, no one touches his food. He's like, "What's going on?"
He's like, I'm sensing a trend here.
What's that? That's some kind of muty food?
Yeah. So they have Jubilee tied up. Who's what, a 13-year-old at this point. And I guess like no one really thinks. I guess they really don't think mutants are humans at all, despite the revelation at the end of last season where the Master Mold confirmed it. But he's just like. You got a 13-year-old kid tied up in your clubhouse full of like men in cut off sleeve shirts that are just aggressive and constantly being aggressive. It's like, they're going to torture her is the plan, I believe, to find out more about her mutant friends. Is that kind of where
this is their normal Saturday, Andre?
Yeah, I guess so. After they beat up that poor Morlock in the streets last episode, I guess Jubilee's the next target. Which was
pick weird places to hang out.
She's rescued by Wolverine, who has a great line. Do you have the gum line in there?
I do.
You know how much bubble gum I had to sniff to find you.
You know how many asses I had to sniff to figure out which one was related to where you were.
You just see him under chairs, like sniffing the bottom of chairs.
And like, when would she have
it's like
time?
going down a line in the movie theater, getting every single chair.
And is she just walking, chewing gum, and sticking it to every the Hansel and Gretel leaving breadcrumbs? Does she just like walk everywhere in the city and leave stacks of chewing gum stuck to stuff as she's traveling?
It's the 90s, Andre.
Oh,
the 90s.
I mean, I guess the yellow raincoat and the purple visor was their pink visor. Should have tipped me off that this is the 90s. But see just Wolverine sniffing every piece of gum from here to Timbuktu trying to find Jubilee. So he does. He rescues her, knocks old Graydon Creed down. It's funny because she has a line too, which is pretty interesting, where she says, which kind of just is a little bit of fill-in for the Friends of Humanity, where she says, like, what did I ever do to you? And he said, you were born. Which is such a dark, like such a dark response, but an accurate one to what this group is. Obviously, they hate mutants in all their forms, and as the show progresses, I'm sure we'll learn more as to why Graydon Creed hates them specifically.
Friends of Humanity are pretty much the worst. The worst being the Friends of Humanity, of course.
Well, that's true, but that's been retired for Andruckus, as I am today.
It's on
a whole episode ago. So yeah, so then Wolverine shows up, saves her, and they escape after knocking old Graydon Creed down and beating up some of the I think that one black guy got it. Kissing the uppercut. He's like, hey man, I'm just trying to belong. I just want friends.
It's like, none of you guys.
Yeah. Thank you for the friendship. They were called Friends of Humanity. Thought it was a gentleman's club.
Maybe he's just so sick of being marginalized by society in general. He thought if he joined a group called Friends of Humanity, he'd be treated equal. It's like, look, we're all equal.
Instead, he
here
got knocked out by Wolverine.
Yeah, just picking up his teeth after Wolverine beats the tar out of him. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So we get to Rogue Beaks, Wolverine, and Jubilee, who go back to the mansion, find Gambit recovering from kissing Rogue last episode.
You snuck a kiss and got what was coming to you.
Oh, do you have his line? He has a good line.
Gambit don't never go where he's not.
His accent seems a little different this episode.
Yeah. But you see, even Gambit says consent matters.
Yes, Gambit is correct.
Yep.
Consent doesn't matter. And even he's quick to defend himself, but also says he doesn't go where he's not invited. So, and then as we're starting to realize that it's getting to that point in the episode where nobody actually stops to explain their side of the story, which would easily dispel all. Like, they live in a world where they've met shapeshifters. One was on their team. So you think they could perhaps know, at some point if someone just said, well, hold on, let's just stop for a sec. What do you think I said? And then the guy says and goes, I didn't say that. Someone must be impersonating me. Problem solved. But nobody actually explains it. They all just get angry and yell at each other until.
Do we know anyone who can do voices?
I can't be. But I can smell him. Morph's here.
Yes. Morph's here.
Beast doesn't smell. Why doesn't Beast smell?
Well, Wolverine does. Yeah.
It's not the professor. It's Morph.
Wolverine does.
Who do you think smells better, Professor or Morph?
Probably Professor. Morph looks pretty dingy with his dark shadows under his eyes in a shitty apartment that he's living in with that one rickety fan. But with the odd flat screen TV that just shows flames behind him.
Fire. It's like that Yuletide log thing for Christmas.
Before that.
Plays the fire in the background. Relaxes him.
Yeah, I guess so. And, obviously it's used to send Charles off. So as an audience, we know Charles has left at the last episode. So Charles claims to have returned. We're all kind of aware it's all Morph. They're trying to be. He says that the enemies are using some kind of...
Destroy him! I've been heard a professor say that before.
Like if your whole thing is subterfuge and like infiltration, you think you may try to speak with the same... not voices in like sounding voice, but in the same way that the person you're trying to impersonate would speak. But it's like you think hanging around the X Mansion for whatever line Morph did, he would have picked up that the professor's not like destroy him.
It's more of a Cyclops thing, really.
It's all about peace and unity between humans and mutants, and he's like destroy him. So he tries to explain that enemies are attacking them using some kind of neuralizer, which is making them all crazy. And tries to use that to explain Wolverine being able to smell him as Morph. However, once Wolverine tries to get at him and he falls out of his chair and tells them to destroy him, Gambit, of course, says, whoa, the professor's never said that before. So he throws a card at his feet and then he jumps up to try to get away, which is fun because the card doesn't explode.
It looks slick. Everything Gambit does look so slick.
I know. He just threw a card that didn't really explode. It just fizzles out because he didn't really power too much. And then Professor X is standing there and he goes, it's a miracle.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He's like, it's a miracle. I can walk.
He's like, see ya, suckers. Like, more.
I just love the "it's a miracle" line. Like, oh, I can walk. My God, it's a miracle. It's like the end of Doctor Strangelove when he's getting out of the chair and he's walking and he's trying to do the Nazi salute. But with more.
And he was doing the Sinister salute.
The Sinister salute. So where are we at here? So Morph, is revealed.
Wolverine catches
Claims
up.
they left him behind, runs off. He gets away in the X-Jet. Wolverine tries to stop him, but he tries to explain.
Wolverine's already in the X-Jet waiting for him, which is pretty slick.
Yeah. I don't know how Wolverine did that. Well, they knew Morph when Morph escaped. They knew he was still on, so they locked down the compound. But then when Morph got to the X-Jet, Wolverine was already inside waiting for him. He tries to explain that.
And so was Jubilee.
Yeah.
Right?
Jubilee was like, Jubilee, we're going to sneak into the X-Jet real fast. Come on,
let's go.
Hop on my back.
Report there with powers that I didn't have before. So and Wolverine, Morph takes on the form of Wolverine. They get in a bit of a fight. Wolverine tries to explain that Scott made a hard call, but he had to make the call to save the rest of the team, and that they didn't they didn't want to leave him behind. But then he manages to fight them off and get away in the jet, leaving Wolverine and Jubilee behind.
I was sure only the real you would tell me to blast both Wolverines.
It's like, don't blast.
Live and learn. That was the
well, it's pretty
like,
good. Because while they're circling, as they both look like Wolverine, she's like, I don't know which one to shoot, and he's like, the only way is to shoot both of us. So she shoots him. I know. So she shoots the other one. And then she's like, I didn't. And then she shot the real Wolverine, and then he does like a little like, oh, you got the wrong one, and then runs off, which I thought was pretty. He's such an annoying little character. That he's so like sneaky and like he's like, oh, wrong one, and runs off, which I think is funny because it's almost always in fiction when this situation comes up. And someone says that they shoot the other one, and then it's always right. So I like that this time they shot the other one and it was wrong.
But the fallacy here is that she didn't shoot both of them. She should have, because Wolverine has a healing factor, and therefore he would be okay.
Exactly.
I would take it a step even further back than that. If it's Wolverine versus Morph, just let them fight for 10 seconds. Wolverine will take Morph down, and you'll know who Wolverine is.
I wonder that too, because Morph wouldn't be able to make adamantium claws. So you'd think if they're just extensions of him,
He just doesn't have the fighting skill of Wolverine either. Wolverine can.
Yeah, but if Wolverine slices those claws, they just slice. If they're just parts of him, like skin or whatever, I don't know how he forms. It would just slice right off. His fingers just form over there when he cuts them off. Oh no, my hand. So we're still unclear on exactly how it works, because he does morph their clothing too. So I don't know if it's just like a field that looks like them, or if it's actually taking the physical form.
Or he's morphing over the clothes, like he has his clothes on, regular clothes, and it morphs over it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Although we're talking earlier, because when he was trying to be rogue and coming on to Gambit, if he could actually become a woman and sleep with male members of the X-Men team, if that would work. So
probably could.
Listeners out there,
he could turn into a rhino. So
right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure he could create a vagina and make it work. So, I guess that could happen. If any of our readers out there want to weigh in on this topic, or listeners, send your messages.
Oh, that's why we call this show X-rated.
Send your messages to Davin specifically, and explain to him.
Diagrams is always an asset.
I want to see all your he wants to see all your diagrams, all your your weird theories, all your subreddits. Send them all to Davin. He's going to research them all, and he's very dedicated, I must say.
Everything gets to me first, so if you want to tell me what you really think of Andre, go right ahead and email us.
And you don't have to put too much love. I mean, just put a few sentences. I know you love me. I know I'm your
flowery phrases.
Yeah, just a couple nice ones will do. I know I'm very entertaining, and you enjoy my presence. So that's it's just nice. It's just nice to have it confirmed. So
well played, sir. Well played.
I know. So where are we at here? Yeah. So then, as Jubilee shoots the correct Wolverine, Morph does a little kind of cartoonish. He gets away, takes the jet, and is gone. Yeah, I know. He's like, this was really funny. So Jubilee goes to visit Storm.
Nice shot. I think that's what he says.
Yeah, that's right. It's great to the voice too. So Jubilee goes to visit Storm in the hospital, tells her about Morph, and that he's upset. And Storm gives her some advice about needing to, which is like, is Storm under arrest, or is she just in the hospital? I'm not quite sure what's going on here.
She technically should be.
Oh, I think they dropped the charges.
The cop shot her with full energy, if you recall correctly.
Everyone's
Uh,
all
would
the
hope
police
so,
officer
anyway.
asking who's the one who made that call. Not me, not me.
Yeah, it's true. Well, the one that poor cop that Morph took the form of has a lot to answer for that he can't explain. You know, like, you told us to shoot her with full energy. It's like, I didn't do that. It's like, we saw you, but I didn't.
he his inner monologue was like what Jubilee said, looking at the two Wolverines. She's like, "Well, I have to shoot somebody, but which one?"
Somebody's got to get shot. So there's some they wonder where Morph's going, and someone says, I think it's Wolverine says he'll be going after who he hates the most or who he's angry with, which is obviously Scott from the conversation I had earlier for making the call to leave him behind. Yes, Storm gives her some advice about, understanding and unity and some other bullshit that she always spouting. Everything Storm says.
Whoa!
Come on. Everything she says is like right. It's almost like she has a mission statement that she just constantly repeats and different rephrases every time. It's like, we have to.
Storm is an inspiration.
Every human
Oh,
gives
I agree.
and fear. There are hundreds who are willing to see the truth. They are the future.
They got a future, Andre.
But what does that mean? What does it mean? It sounds nice, but it doesn't mean anything. It's like,
It means both good and evil are contagious.
It's just like a Maya Angelou quote book that has Storm powers. That's what Storm is in this show. She's constantly like, the only way to go up is down, to go through is around. Like, it's just always these mixed metaphors of unity and love. I mean, I guess it's a good message, and she's a great character, but it's just really funny. She almost is like she's like the Della Reese from Touched by an Angel character. Sage advice to like get through whatever problems they have and help them on their way.
Oh my gosh!
It's called
I didn't
Touched
think
by
I was going to get a Della Reese reference.
You never know.
You get it all here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what Della Reese is doing right now. She's still alive, right?
She's watching this podcast, obviously.
If she is, please reach out, Della. We'd love to have
Please, Della.
Please, Della. See if you can get the Irish woman too. We'll bring her on. We'll just get the whole crew out here.
She's probably Scottish because now that Andre said Irish, she always mixes those two up.
You're 5 years too late.
Oh, Della Reese died 5 years ago?
Yep.
Oh, well,
Oh, no.
But if the Irish lady wants to come on, we'll have, if you're listening, you're welcome to join us. We'll learn your name between now and the next episode.
And whether you're Irish or Scottish.
I'm pretty sure she's Irish.
Roma Downey?
Yeah, that's her. Yeah, that's her. I don't know if that show. Okay, we don't need to get off into a Touched by an Angel tirade. That show was on for quite a while. Actually, I'm almost positive Cal Dodd not Cal Dodd, the guy that plays Beast or some of those actors are probably on that show because I think they filmed it in Canada.
Oh, probably.
There's some overlap. So.
9 seasons.
Oh my God!
Wow,
that's a lot of angel touching. Jesus. All right, so where we get to? So we get to Sinister's revealing his very, very vague and convoluted plan. So yeah, Cyclops and Jean
lives, I've watched you, tracked you, studied you, the chosen ones.
And then the big part of his plan.
There's no mention as to why they're the chosen.
With your offspring, I will control the future of all human creatures on Earth.
Yeah, but how?
Okay. There's a big middle part to that plan that we don't have yet. It's like make Jean and Scott have kids. ? Use the kids to take over the future. Like where's the middle part? It's like the underpants films from South Park. Like we have the first plan and the third part is profits. We don't know what's going on in the second and the middle part. Like what's happening there?
Stalking these children for 20 years. Yada yada yada. Cable
is
control the world.
When he shows Scott like in grade school, he's just like running on the spot, like he's an avatar in a video game. Like before you're going to select like young Scott Summers in a video game, it just shows him running on the spot. Yeah, exactly. So for somehow
Summers fitness
watching
regimen
these two for their whole lives, waiting for them to get married and have children that he can use somehow to take over the future. We don't know anything about beyond that. It's incredibly vague and convoluted. It makes zero sense if you think about it for more than a second. And it's very interesting. I mean, it's all based on DNA. Apparently, maybe he's figured out that their equal DNAs combined will make the perfect mutant. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
it's got to be. That's his whole thing.
I guess, but it's very vague.
The
I mean, how would
DNA.
you go across the whole world and figuring out, like, of all the mutants on the planet, which would be, I don't know, millions, billions, maybe. I guess millions, but and figuring out exactly the two that have the proper DNAs that when joined, and then, like, he didn't even mention that he manipulated them together. He just said he's been watching them since they were kids. So it's all very vague.
He was watching on his television screen like we saw in last season. And he was
Right.
like with a bag of popcorn, like it's his favorite reality show. Will they, won't they?
Yep.
Oh, yes! Yes!
Yay!
His whole plan is
Screw
based on
you,
the fact
Wolverine.
these two meet each other. Yes, right. His whole plan is based
I
on the
was
fact
cheering
these
for
two meet each
Scott.
other and get together. Like, that's a pretty hard plan to make happen.
The
You know, it's
Bachelor
like-
before the Bachelor.
This rose for you.
It's like, yes!
It's like, this rose in my DNA, so we'll create the perfect offspring to take over the future. So then Morph shows up to go get his revenge on Cyclops. And he reveals
has, like,
to
the
them that he was the... No,
He is the
doesn't
funniest.
And you're
Yeah, he
married, or are you? I now pronounce you betrayer, Betrayus.
Betrayer and betrays.
Betray is? Like, what?
Yeah,
Why do you have to
betrayer,
genderize
betrays.
that term? I think betrayer works for either gender. It's like, I don't think betray is a word. Betrayer, betrayus.
Not his best self.
Well, he's pretty upset. So he reveals that he was the Reverend who married them. He's about to kill Cyclops, and Sinister stops him, giving this whole diatribe about how he needs their DNA to save the and stops him. And that's why, saved Morph from dying so that he could use him for part of this plan, which is still very vague and convoluted. The X-Men arrive because they knew Scott and Jean were here, and they figured that old Morphy boy would be heading there. They encounter the Nasty Boys, who go off to fight, and there's a big old fight between Slab, Ruckus, Gorgeous George, and
Hairball.
Ruckus.
Hairbag.
You never heard of Ruckus before.
You don't kick a man down, hairbag. Who told you my name?
Who told you my name?
He's so Jamaican too. Who told you my name?
Yep.
I
That's what we
don't
call
make fun of me.
That's what we call a Jafaican accent.
Yeah, it's like a male Miss Cleo. It's like, call me now.
Yeah, that's funny.
He's like, but it's like an angry Miss Cleo.
Gabby likes to play hard to get.
Keep your shitty fingers to yourself, you walking target.
Again, his voice is.
They're always
seems
coming to each
off
other's
in this
rescue.
episode. His voice doesn't seem as spot on as it is. I wonder if this is like a fill-in
It's
guy.
thicker in French accent, I feel.
And way less
Sometimes-
like it doesn't flow right. It's like the way he talks is almost like it's almost like someone reading. You know what I mean? Like not so like just someone that's not comfortable in the accent as much as I don't know if it actually is the same guy or maybe he's had an off day. Who knows? But
Yeah.
it doesn't
Could
really
be
sound
a
like
quick
the normal
take.
guy.
He
got
was
a
away.
cold.
He was away that day, and had to overdub, right? And
Yeah,
like, he
maybe
had to
so.
quickly. He's like, okay, I got to quickly hit these lines because I have to do it in the next episode, and it's past due. I can't work it out and figure out exactly how it works. So
Yeah.
We
So,
have our smart guy quote of the day.
Noblest act is kindly silent when they brawl. But Lord Tennyson.
which he says as he lifts the guy in the air. He has a lot of time to quote Tennyson, and then attribute it to the quote to the author, and then hurl the guy at the enemies. So I just find that very funny. It's the he's like he lifts the guy in the air, does the whole quote, and then throws him. So like the guy in the air just waits for dramatic effect while he finishes the sentence.
I gotta
interrupt
say though,
him.
I took this one a little personally.
Practiced with the B team. Now it's time for the big game.
As someone who was on the B team.
I like how the X-Men actually beat the Nasty Boys by working together.
Yes, I do.
Which kind of sets them apart from a lot of these other teams that just kind of you take a turn, then I take a turn. Like previously we saw the Marauders during the assassination attempt, where it's like uh, Avalanche is gonna hit them with the water, right?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like everyone else is standing aside, and then the blob shows up, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna stand here. You two, don't worry, don't do anything at the same time. I'm gonna take these two. It's like was it martial arts ninja fighter kind of you first and I first. We take turns kind of situation. So
Yeah,
it shows it's a team.
That's true. There was some good unity there for sure there. So during the fight there, Cyclops still manages to convince Morph that he's still an X-Man. And but we got a flashback earlier to show Sinister putting a bug in Morph's head, which seems to have helped. But it's weird because like Morph's to the ground, his head is exposed, his ear is right there, and he has this bug, and then he just puts it in the side of his face and just burrows in through his face to his brain. Why not put it in the ear? Like, was it like? It just seems odd to me that it doesn't leave a mark. It just burrows into his skull, and there's no. I guess he's Morph, so I don't know. Maybe his skin isn't normal, but
honestly, I think the reason for that is this is a kid show.
Yeah,
and
that's
if
what
kids
I thought.
know that a bug could get in their ear, parents would never hear the end of it. It's like, I was sleeping in this. I think there's something in my ear. I think the bug crawled into it like an X-Men.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I hate this.
Well, maybe we should make sure they don't watch Wrath of Khan then. Put that weird bug in their ears to make them subservient. So
it's funny when we were talking to Eric and Julia Leewald, they said they were expecting letters parents all the time just due to a lot of the adult themes on the show, and they never got any. But when they were working on Beetlejuice, they got them constantly. Like,
just because like the main character's a demon that we're supposed to, that's like the hero of the show is a demon,
or a ghost,
or a ghost or something dark and supernatural, which is funny. Get the old religious crowd up in arms. So while Morph has a change of heart, he takes a shot at Sinister, which doesn't affect him, and gives Cyclops a chance to break out of his restraints, which is hilarious because all he does to break out is just go like this and rip his way out, which he could have seemingly done at any point, but chose dramatically to do it right now. Then use his optic blast to get the collar off with his hand, use the blast to get himself out and get Jean out of her restraints too.
Don't those colors explode? I thought that was mentioned during Slave Island. Like,
apparently
that's
not.
True.
Not now.
That's why they've gone out of fashion on Genosha.
I guess to be fair, Sinister would never take the chance that those colors could explode, because then he would lose his genetic petri dishes.
Very good. That's a really good cover for that. I'm sure it wasn't intended when they wrote it, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
Like the god with mutants' lives. We'll just keep away from my friends.
Cyclops is pretty badass.
Go ahead. Run.
Go ahead.
Watching for you.
Yeah, because his beams fuck up Sinister real good. Like when he hits Sinister with his eye beams, he's almost starts falling apart. Like green, he starts like green stuff kind of eats away at him from the beams. So Cyclops' powers seem to affect Sinister in a very specific way. Which is this ever explained? Haven't you remember the overall?
Could be his assassination with it as well. Like he could see that as a special kind of power that can actually damage him.
Maybe so, but anyway, so he makes a quick getaway with the rest of the Nasty Boys, and they escape. At the same time, they go to look for Morph, but he left in the same bird that they stole, the blackbird that he stole last time. So, and you think the X-Men might want to get that back? I mean, I'm sure a private stealth jet costs a lot of money, and they're like, they just let him go. Like the Wolverine's like, I'm not going to let him go again, and then they're like, we have to give him time to come to terms with who he is now, as a B says, like. So, but Wolverine is steadfast that he's going to get him back. So I assume that's going to be
because he's the only one that ever made me laugh.
Yeah, which is funny because
it's only because he doesn't get any of Beast's sweet references.
Well, he makes a lot of Wolverine is rather punny. He makes a lot of jokes himself in this show.
That's true. Check please.
The
whole Blackbird losing out the Blackbird, it makes sense for them to at least file the insurance report first before they try to track it down, because they can explain, the internal damage to our house was done by this this culprit that broke in, damaged the danger room, and stole the Blackbird.
I'd love to see what insurance companies have to deal with in a world like this. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, a giant man described as the Blob smashed up the side of your building, and then another guy that had a red helmet slammed through the side of it and smashed the entire building down, claiming to be the half brother of the guy that owns the place. All right, I can just picture the insurance adjuster like his head in his hands trying to fill this out. Calls his wife. He's like, I'm not gonna be home for dinner, honey. She's mad. She's like, it's the 6th time this week. He's like, well, the X-Men got in a fight with another guy from the future, and I'm trying to figure out how that fits with the policy. The future crimes covered under here.
Nimrod again.
Nimrod again. All right, look, you've used up all you can on the giant robot attacking your mansion insurance policy. There's still a little bit left in the evil mutants attacking. But Juggernaut's not a mutant, so that's not covered under that policy.
Oh, you didn't get the magical. You didn't get the magical. Policy.
You didn't spring for
no,
the
it was a
coverage.
tornado. Covered for tornadoes, right? It was a tornado.
That's right. Sure, spree tornado that just appeared. So Wolverine vows to go find his friend. And then we cut to Antarctica, where Xavier and Magneto meet up after the subterfuge that Morph put into place with his fire screen in his shitty apartment. They're both confused because
either of them, quite frankly,
both got messed.
Well, for a dying man, Magneto.
Charles almost seems disappointed. Like, I was hoping you were dying, Magneto. You seem well. This is disappointing to me. So,
where's the med kit, Xavier?
You
Susie didn't bring one.
So to which Magneto responds that he got a message from Xavier saying that to meet him there because he had something to tell him. So obviously they were lured there together, and then there's an avalanche that occurs, which is always funny because both of them, like Xavier's flown around in his little chair a few times, and Magneto can make force fields and fly. So why do they think an avalanche is going to stop these two? Whoever's lured them there, which I'm guessing is Sinister. So, or someone else.
What?
Morph obviously was connected to it.
I sense the lingering presence of something sinister.
A little on the nose there with the terminology.
Yeah, I know.
So
but
yeah,
caused by Avalanche himself that we know of.
Well, we don't see
naturally occurring avalanches.
They do occur sometimes. So yeah, and that's the end of episode. To be continued is the stinger. To which is the next episode, which is Whatever It Takes, which is a fun song.
Also known as Till Death Do Us Part
3. Whatever it takes. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry. Magic Dragon song for you. I have what's the Beat Saber for the PlayStation VR, and that song's on it, so yeah, I get pretty used to that one. I like that one. Anyways, and we're at the end of our episode. Morph gets somewhat redeemed. We have a new enemy in Sinister, and the X-Men remain united. Well, Xavier's off on a Euro trip with his old enemy.
Each doesn't have to look into his own heart and decide.
Did you explain to our guests what this is? All our extra segments? Or do we have to explain it to them?
I know Rated Contact.
Okay. I assume you've listened to every episode of the show as well in preparation, Jimmy.
Unfortunately, Spotify was down for portions of today, so
you're going to listen to all the episodes in one day. Amazing. I don't know if you could have done it one day today. Could he have done it? I mean, every episode's like an hour and a half to 2.
Yeah.
No, you definitely couldn't have.
I also had some training I had to do, so I only was able to listen to one episode, the first episode, which is great, great, mind you. But I think I could. I think I can pick up pretty quickly.
That's quite all right. We have added things. We'll follow you through. Yes. What's your rating? 1 to X.
I will have to go 8.5. Sorry, 8. No 0.5s.
Yeah.
8.
No decimal.
We don't deal with decimals.
Andre put his foot down.
I did put my foot down. It gets. 1 to 10 should be enough. You don't need to get into decimals.
I agree.
Why 8?
I mean, he was doing a Hogan leg drop at the time, but he still put his foot down.
And I'll do it again.
So there was a lot of interesting aspects to this episode. One, you're always worried about a two-parter that it feels a little bit too close to the first one, where just like it's just a longer episode. This felt like a proper continuation of the overall story, and it felt like a conclusion to what was introduced in the first episode of the second season to the second one. At the same time, this episode covers a lot of ground in terms of taking all the different subplots and kind of merging them together at the end. We also have the excellent scene where you have the battle with the Nasty Boys and the X-Men, where they actually use teamwork to win, and you have the beginning of a storyline for the rest of the second season. I think it hits a lot of different points, and it does a great job in it. I kind of wish that there was a little bit more time spent with the Morph in the mansion, kind of interacting with the X-Men. Also, the Friends of Humanity sequence was interesting, to say the least. And the check-ins with Storm, they could have gotten rid of one of them and just used one or the other. We didn't need both.
Yeah, that's true. I can get that.
Well said. I get 9 for basically all the reasons Jaemeel just said. It had a lot. It was a lot of meat. I liked the Morph, wrap up of the Morph storyline. It built a lot to continue on later in the season with the Professor X Magneto thing, but with also Morph getting away with their jet, mind you. And also, we don't know anything about Sinister or his great man. But despite all these things we don't know, it felt like a complete episode.
I agree.
And a great continuation of the first one, like you said. And I've found with a lot of the two-parters, things that seemed like two-parters so far, the second part hasn't been.
I think this one is
this
the
one.
opposite.
It was. I feel like, yeah.
I agree. I think
I gave them both 9s, but
the second part to me was stronger than the first part, and I really like this one as well. I'm going to go with Jaemeel and go with an 8, just because 10 is godliness and 9 is next to godliness, so 8's just a little further back from that, but we're pretty close.
8 is still good. 8 is still very good.
It's a respect. 80% on a test is respectable.
Yeah. 8's what gave the Juggernaut episode.
That's right.
We both agreed on that one.
Yes, it's a good episode. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of action going on here. I'm down.
Yeah.
More of this, please.
Okay. So does everyone get 3? And then we do a point.
And then I got a fourth one.
Oh, you got a fourth one? Okay, so we'll do 3 each, and then
so I'll go first.
We'll do 4. You go first.
All right. So my first X point is Cyclops. Cyclops. I thought he shined pretty well in this episode.
I like the shorts.
Not the romance stuff necessarily, but he really stepped up there at the end. He had some cool lines. He hasn't really had a lot of time to be badass so far in the series. And I felt like he got that.
I like this little boat outfit. He had like these little shorts.
Yeah.
Little
orange
little
t-shirt, quite nice.
It's like vacation Cyclops. It was good.
Yeah.
All right. You want me to go next?
Sure.
All right. In this episode, in line with most episodes of the show, we got a fun little cameo in which when Sinister is going through the history of Cyclops, we see Cyclops fighting the super adaptoid, which is fun.
Oh,
that's a fun little nod to Marvel history. They do tuck those in every once in a while, and it was kind of neat. I'm sure we'll never see him show up in the show again, but it was just neat to show this history the X-Men have of fighting other mutants before we joined them when the series started. So, I mean, the Adaptoid is an Avengers villain mostly, but it's still a fun little thing to throw in there and see in a cartoon, even if it was a brief glimpse in a flashback. So,
from that same scene, probably would have been a better first X point from me. Is it shows Jean and Cyclops in the old school '60s uniform as well, right when he says that they were the first two. So that kind of lends credence to them being Xavier's first 2 students.
Right.
Very true.
They fill in gaps in little ways like that to the series, and it's pretty sweet.
Okay. For my point is the great use of powers and not necessarily the traditional way. So we have Gambit's faux card to kind of show off that it's Morph. Also, you have Rogue using the doing a spin to kind of get Gorgeous George off of her as well, as well as the palm tree as well. Using powers in not traditional ways, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Climbing up a building when it's entirely unnecessary.
Mhm. I mean, that still is traditional
As
how he
well.
did it, but it was still fun. The reasoning was untraditional, that's for sure.
Yes.
That was a traditional building climb if I've ever seen one. Andre's upset now.
All right.
All
Calm down.
right.
Just calm down.
All right. My next one, Morph has a point when he says to Cyclops, he wouldn't leave. He's never left Jean behind, and he wouldn't have. Is my contention here. I think Morph has a good point there against Cyclops. No way if Jean got shot by the Sentinel instead of Morph that Cyclops was like, all right, everyone on the jet. No way. So,
Yeah, that's a very good
this
point.
is a good Cyclops episode, but also a bad Cyclops episode. It shows the strength and the weakness of his leadership.
Back to me. Great and Creed. I like the Friends of Humanity didn't get deeply fleshed out too much in the last episode. We just knew them as essentially, bigots that don't like mutants, and that's pretty much it. So, seeing how deep their ideology goes when he says you were born and that's why you're our enemy is kind of the final little touch on that group to say that there's nothing redeemable about them and they're just, hoods away from being the KKK. So. I was very interested in seeing. I liked that sort of little darkening of the story, and really setting up that group. I'm sure they're not going to be main villains because they're just humans with energy weapons, but setting up that they are something to not take too lightly because they're dangerous, and spouting stuff like that is incredibly frightening, especially in today's times. So
very true. My next point is a Cyclops point, which I never figured I would do. I like the callback that Cyclops likes to boat. When Cyclops got married, boat. When Cyclops and met Madeline Pryor in the comic books, boat. He has a long history in the comic books with boats, especially one where it's very important, situations very important to him or very reflective for him. And it's great to see that kind of thought process in the character continue on in the animated series.
what was the accident in the comics?
Redheads and boats.
Redheads and boats.
What was the accident in the comics that made him not be able to control his powers? It wasn't boat.
Oh, it's in the accident where he got thrown out of the plane by his mother.
The plane, that's his dad. And all that,
He
yeah.
bumped his head on the landing.
Right. I thought maybe a boat was related. Maybe it's in a boating accident.
Had they been in a boat, it would have probably been better for them.
True.
No. So yeah, true.
Unless there were sharks.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Anything could go wrong, actually. All right, my next one. Morph needs Wolverine. Wolverine wants to catch up to Morph, but I believe it's Storm Beast that says that Morph needs to go because of what he'll do around them, and that he's too dangerous to be around them. But that's the same thing Wolverine struggles with all the time. So if there's anybody that can help Morph with what he's going through, it's Wolverine.
Yeah,
so
he is a dark
I hope
sort
that
of past.
Yeah.
Well,
hope they play
Wolverine
that
has
out.
a through line of
remember.
not being particularly proud of everything he's done in his past. So I feel as though he's the one to
Mhm.
reach out and try to help. These sort of other people that have fallen by the wayside. In that. My next point is dark humor. I'm a big fan of it, and almost everything I fictional wise, if you got some dark humor in there, you're gonna get Andre as a fan. The little bits of Morph, especially the little moment where he's like, "It's a miracle," and he can walk, made me laugh a lot. I thought that was a great. I think Morph's an interesting little foil. I mean, whether he has a redemption arc, which it seems like they're heading towards, is good. But before all that, I just enjoyed some of his little antics as he's going around screwing up all the rest of the X-Men and making them kiss each other and sending them to the Friends of Humanity. If you think about this redemption arc they have Morph on, he's done some pretty rough stuff. Not just like he basically sent Jubilee off to be murdered. He's like, it's like sending a minority to a KKK meeting. You're like, all right, just go over there, and what do you think is going to happen? It's not going to end well. So he just sent them off and was like, hey, go murder Jubilee for me, essentially. So he's got a lot of crawling back to do, but they did do that nice little Deus Ex Machina bit where they put a bug in his head to explain his evil behavior.
And they show his struggle with cool clips like this.
Destroy the X-Men? No! They're my friends!
And he keeps changing it all of them. My
Yeah.
friends.
It's cool.
So yeah, that
That
little
would be
bit
very
of,
dramatic in a live action movie.
It sure would. We got a bit of that when Wolverine stabbed Mystique in the first one. She took all the forms of all the different people she was impersonating throughout the movie. But so little bits of dark humor like that make me laugh. So I like to see a little more of that in the future.
I'm making my points up on the fly. If you didn't know,
We do that sometimes.
I'll let you in on a secret, Jaemeel. I do that every week.
There you have it.
Okay, negative points. Jubilee, not being able to get out of her cuffs and being, more or less incapacitated.
Yeah, it's weird.
It
when they do
seems
that.
weird, especially when she has those powers, which, for all intents and purposes, don't hurt her. So the fact that she couldn't at least like hit someone or whammy the cuffs was a little disappointing for my girl Jubes. Didn't show her being the badass chick that I know she is.
Yeah, it's weird that like when her hands are tied, she can't use her powers. Like they're just behind you. Why don't you just turn and point your hands at the person, the guard, and you shoot him? Maybe even use one hand to blow the cuff off the other hand. That all seems.
There's a big difference between a guard and a VCR, you guys. Big difference.
Hey man, she blew up a sentinel with that. I'm sure she could take out a dude. Think she could take out that one blackguard? Shoot him down.
He's like, really?
He's like, why is it always me? Because he was
They always
standing
put him by the door.
Yeah, they always put him right by the door. Seen him pick up his teeth after Wolverine knocks him out.
The final X point.
All right, wait on it.
Are you familiar with the Japanese intro to this?
Oh, yes,
series?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
I promised the listeners a clip last week and I didn't have it, so
You're missing one part. Shock! Yeah. I advise anyone to watch it, especially the sequence where they introduce Storm and Rogue as they kind of like hover around Professor X like he's Charlie and they're the Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, I love the anime samurai fight with Sabretooth and Wolverine where they're like hitting in the air and it's in the ching 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 in the air and they're still kind of floating. It's very Dragon Ball Z. It's funny, when I was a kid, I used to watch Dragon Ball Z on Fox. And I didn't have cable, but I used to watch it at my friend's place, or maybe I could get the channel with the rabbit ears or something. But it had this like dark. The theme song on Fox was like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and then like I remember watching it on YTV. It had a different intro, and it like as a kid, it blew me away that there was two separate intro songs. The one on YTV was like Dragon Ball Z, but they were two very different versions. One was kind of calmer than the other, and the other was way more aggressive. So I like the idea that there's different versions of these open intros in other countries. The Japanese one is kind of interesting to me because the animation style is so different from the show. And it also seems very much like
it was very
cool. Like the Japanese do tend to have a fascination with kind of tendrily monsters that fill in for penises. But so I'm guessing that's why the Brood. This is true. So back in like Japanese anime or anime cartoons back in the day, they used to make all the they couldn't. There's a rule or a law or something in Japan where they couldn't animate penises, so they would make all these monsters. So they do these like hentai things where they couldn't actually show like male appendages. So they would make all these women fight these monsters with all these very penis-like looking tendrils that are all around them all the time to kind of make up for that.
Yep.
So I'm wondering,
they still don't. They still can't show penises really. Even in a lot of their anime and porn per se, the uncensored anime could show it, but anything else, including the porn, is pixelated. How do I know this? Internet is a weird and very, very big place. I will say.
Oh no, it's very interesting because it's like they make these things that are so prominently, like, because I think they can show it in manga. Because I'm sure I've seen some weird mangas with penises in them.
Yes,
But
doshiji. They have a specific term for it, where the adult manga.
Because a friend of mine's big into it, and he was reading the Battle Royal ones, and I remember flipping through it, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, I don't remember that in the movie, but you know, stuff like that. So it's weird that like something like if it's drawn in a comic, it's fine, but animated, it's not. In real life, it's really not. But you can watch someone get disemboweled. That's fine. It's just weird. It's weird the lines that people make when it comes to what's appropriate and what's not.
People
But yeah,
as long as you don't have a ghost.
That's right. You can just show the penises you want. As long as it's a normal living person penis and not a ghost or demon penis, you'll be all right.
Well, that would be very, very bad.
So aggressive. Everything's screaming.
Yeah.
I love anime
It's hard to believe
themes.
it's for that show.
Hey,
Andre, a comic book reminiscences and recommendations segment. Hey, check this out.
Mhm.
You got anything for us, Andre?
I do today. I just grabbed the first thing in my library that looked impressive, and it's heavy. The Adamantium Wolverine collection. This is massive volume that has all the. One of my wrestling friends was selling this, and I decided to pick it up years ago. But it is, it's got like all these prime Wolverine stories, some beautiful art. It's a huge book. You can definitely club a home invader to death with it if you needed an extra weapon. But it's got some.
It's made out of adamantium.
Stories connecting with his origin story, so you get the Wolverine origin stuff. I think it's the whole thing of that is in here. But then you get like some other key storylines. The Weapon X story. You get his Weapon X intro, I believe, some from Madripoor and all that sort of stuff in the series. You get pretty much all the seminal Wolverine stories. Well, there's a Brood there. You can see Wolverine fighting a Brood. I think that's Claremont. Is this Claremont's right?
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's got like all these seminal Wolverine stories in it.
The Mark Street cover. Wolverine's a Brood, one of my favorites.
Yes, I believe so. And then so it's got all these seminal stories. There's your girl Jubilee, and got that sweet '90s group in there.
Love it.
Black Widow and Psylocke. Psylocke show up in the show eventually. Question.
Yep.
Oh, cool. So yeah, it's a really cool
And
addition.
she's gonna be a main cast member in '97 by the looks of things.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so it's a great book, and it definitely connects. It's even got some Quentin Quire stuff when Wolverine was leading the school for a while. So it's fairly recent, but yeah, it's a great set. It's got a lot of really cool covered Wolverine stuff from all over the place. It's even got some work here from a friend of mine who drew that Wolverine in the X-Men comic, Nick Bradshaw. So
wow.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
This Spider-Man. God, it's hard to do this. It's like a mirror. This Spider-Man in the X-Men comic here is done by Nick Bradshaw.
Yes, he is. Yep, he did that series too. That's got one of my favorite. Is that the series where Spider-Man was teaching one of the classes there at the X-Men? It's got one of my favorite all-time. My favorite all-time things in an entire comic is Spider-Man takes the kids. I think they go on like a field trip to the Savage Land, and they run into Stegron, and who's teamed up with Sauron. And one of my favorite lines is like Spider-Man's talking to Stegron, and he says, like, you're a geneticist. He's like, who has achieved outstanding stuff in your field. You could cure cancer. And then Stegron says, I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
It was the other way around, but yeah, Sauron wants to turn.
Oh, it was Sauron. That's who it was. It was Sauron. So yeah. They're like, you're a geneticist, you know the stuff, and he was like, I don't want to cure cancer. I just want to turn people into dinosaurs, which is one of my favorite lines of all time. It's like he doesn't care about cancer. He just wants to make everyone dinosaurs, and that's his goal.
Doesn't everyone want to on some level?
That's true. I mean, it'd be great if it could be a dinosaur person. It's like that scene. It's like the scene in The Simpsons when he, this trios of horror when they're making fun of The Shining, where he goes into the bar and the ghost of Mo is there, and he's like, kill your family, and he's like, why do I want me to kill my family? He's like, they'd be much happier as ghosts. He's like, you don't seem happy. He's like, oh, I'm happy. I'm very happy. La da 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 da. Now ice your family. It'll give you a beer.
Go
These
crazy.
dinosaur people. These dinosaur people don't seem that happy, but Soren's really committed to making everyone dinosaur.
He wants
They'll
everyone
learn
to
about it.
enjoy the joy that he has.
I guess so.
Exactly.
Maybe you need to spend a little time as a
Clearly
dinosaur
immense.
before you really appreciate it.
You got a comic book reminiscence or recommendation for the people, Jaemeel?
Yes, I do. My book. The moment that I was told about this, I was a little late for work, but had to make sure I pulled it out. I would have done X-Men Adventures #1, which I do have.
Oh, very
But
nice.
I'm going to a little bit of the indie route. Not really indie, I should say, anymore. I'm sorry. I keep on thinking Image is indie, but it isn't. It is Paper Girls. Paper Girls.
I also
Okay.
love Paper Girls.
So it's a mystery science fiction book written by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Cliff Chang. Story of 4 12-year-old newspaper delivery girls in Cleveland, Ohio, who the morning after Halloween get caught up in an alien invasion from the future. The series went on for 30 issues, and an Amazon adaptation will be coming this year. I strongly advise it. It is a great book, great characters, biting dialogue.
Set in the 80s.
The art is set in the 80s, yeah. The dialogue and the art too. The art is also very fantastic. I strongly suggest it. Anyone who doesn't read comic books, start reading comic books. And I'm not saying for you to read a superhero comic book. There's a comic book for everyone. You just need to find it. You might need to, put a little elbow grease into it, but you'll find it. Talk to your local comic book store, and they can help you find what you want. If you want to read about cooking, you can find something about cooking, whether it be comic books or manga.
And the covers of Paper Girls of single issues all sort of connect into a cool poster.
Yes. Yes, they're great. I have almost the entire run.
15 issues or something like that. I should catch up on that.
Wrong.
I'm
Ron
behind,
can,
but
Ron
it's
can do
very
no
serious.
wrong for me. He's one of my all-time favorite writers. It's fantastic.
Why the Last Man's my favorite story ever. So.
Unfortunately, they did that dirty in the TV show because they didn't give him much of a chance, and it was in development hell forever, and it's not getting a second season. But
I didn't.
But yeah,
the first season came out.
Yep, but everything he's done has been fantastic. Huge fan of. Ex Machina. Pride of Baghdad, Paper Girl Saga, which is the huge thing that everybody loves right now. Amazing stuff.
I guess some of that's it. Yep.
So yeah, you were right, my friend.
And there's a little Canadian story.
And he's done some impressive.
We Stand on Guard.
X-Men work as well.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah, when we in the future we go to war with America over water, which seems incredibly prescient. But yeah, he also did some great work in X-Men.
So it's pretty realistic.
He did some great X-Men work too. I believe he had a great run on when Ultimate X-Men was a thing, but he also, I think, did some work in the regular.
Oh, he did a Wolverine short series.
Yeah,
right.
Called.
He also did a Mystique. He also did a Mystique miniseries too.
Yeah, the Mystique.
Or an ongoing one that got canceled early or something. But he definitely did a series.
Like 12 issues or something.
Yeah, he's a great writer.
All right, mine. The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix.
What leads towards the end of Sinister's genetic viewings?
This is his origin story. Sinister's origin story is in this book, and also it has the beginnings of X-Men. Yeah,
Nate Gray.
A love story. And these two young kids. Yeah, Nate Gray, exactly. And Sinister's back in here, and it's a good book. Just 4 issues. Check it out. Lots happens.
I'd like to do one more very quickly.
Yep.
Very quickly. Because especially we were talking about tentacles. I would like to suggest Empowered, right?
Oh, yeah.
By Adam Warren. It is an English language manga. It is about an up and coming superhero who has like this super suit that is like a hyper membrane. And it gives her powers. Unfortunately, if it gets ripped whatsoever, it becomes utterly useless and she loses all of her powers. And she struggles with her self-esteem, self-worth, and body issues because a lot of times her costume just completely rips apart. And she is captured and tied up repeatedly throughout the
Oh,
entire.
so it does sound like a manga.
Yes, it sounds like it's very pushing a kink, but at the same time, it is extremely well written, very witty, and actually Emp is a very great superhero, I will suggest. The art is beautiful. It's all done by Adam Warren. It's all in black and white, very detailed. And there's currently 11 volumes of the book and a couple miniseries. I strongly suggest you check it out. Please make sure, though, parental advisory.
Yes, very good point.
All right.
It's funny because when I used to work, there was a comic store in Truro for a while, and sometimes when the guy was away, he'd get me to watch it for a few weeks, and I would put away people's comics when they came in. And this one guy would always get these. I won't name him because I don't even remember his name, but he used to get these comics that were it's called Taro the Black Rose, and it was very much a kink comic. Like every episode, her shirt would get ripped off, and the bad guy would spank her, and she would get tied up in every single comic in some way. And it was like. It was just a vehicle to get to this kink thing, and it's just so interesting that these things exist. Like that this comic, there's enough demand that this comic can have a life. Like there's enough people buying it to keep it going, which is staggering to me. But apparently there are. So it's nice to know that somebody's taking. I know this isn't the same thing. This is actually
but it plays off of that because in the community, in the superhero community, in her storyline, she's known as like. The only reason why you're as popular as you are is because you constantly get captured, tied up, and these pictures flood the internet. You're known practically as the warm-up for any upcoming supervillain, right? Because you always get tied up, right? And she's powerless, right? So someone else has to go and save her. So it actually does play on that and the fans of that type of genre as well. It's a lot smarter than than what initially people might think.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, right on. I remember seeing it around, but I never read it, so I'll definitely add it to the ridiculously high read pile I have.
The evil that is
What's wrong with Andre?
Oh,
Everyone's favorite
what's
segment.
wrong with Andre? Not much. I was in the hospital today for like 8 hours just to get tests done. Oh, no, I'm okay. I just I had symptoms that kind of remind me of when I had myocarditis before, and thankfully it appears to not be that again, and I'm okay. But just I had to wait for tests and everything. So
you went back to Quiznos, didn't you?
No, I did not. I had food poisoning last week, Jaemeel, from eating at Quiznos, I think.
Wow.
Anyway,
I didn't even know Quiznos still existed.
It doesn't know if it's good.
There's one out here.
You want to flip it to the good one because I got some good stuff. What's working with Andre? Is it the good one? Yeah.
What's working with Andre?
So my wife had the friends over on the weekend, and I was supposed to vacate, go to another friend's place, and just spend the night there, but he bailed because his kid was sick. So I decided to just go to Halifax and watch movies all day. And I did, and I watched some great movies. I watched Studio 666, which is this horror movie with the Foo Fighters playing themselves in it, where they're recording their new album in basically a house where a former band guy murdered his band, and he was possessed by demons, and then Dave Grohl gets possessed, and it goes off from there. But it's goofy, it's silly, but it's kind of fun. It's got some great gore in it. And John Carpenter did the soundtrack, and he makes a cameo, so that's always great. Then I watched Cyrano. The movie based the new version of Cyrano de Bergerac with Peter Dinklage playing Cyrano. It's scored by The National, which are my favorite band, so I was pretty excited to check it out. It's a very good movie. I'm not normally like I like musicals, okay. I don't really seek them out, but when I see a good one, I really enjoy it, and I really like this one. It's got a great story, very heartfelt. I may have teared up once or twice, I'll admit. It's very good. And then I watched the Batman, which I really enjoyed. It's long because I think I started watching movies at 3:45 and I had little windows in between to get food and do stuff. But the last one was like 9:45 is when it started, and I didn't get out until like 12. I think it was 12:50 when I got out of the movie, and then I drive home an hour from Halifax. But it was very enjoyable. It's dark. It doesn't really go into Batman's origin too much. You don't have another sequence of the Wayne's getting gunned down.
Yeah.
They kind of assume you know that by now, which is good.
it kind of plays off that idea at the very beginning. You're like, what am I watching? Is that Bruce? And then you realize it's not Bruce at the beginning.
They drop you right into it, which is pretty cool. And like I wasn't sold 100% in the costume. I'm still like, it looks like the Arkham Asylum games costume, which is kind of cool. I just like Ben Affleck's version of the costume so much. I just want to see some marriage of the two where it's a bit closer to the comics. But I really did like the movie. I thought it was great. You get Batman being a detective, which we haven't really seen much of before, and there's a lot of that. Jeffrey Wright's a fantastic Gordon. The story was great. It really ties everything together. I mean, once again, it's a dark Batman, which I'm going to have to get used to. We're not going to get the fun Cape Crusader Batman, I think, in a movie anytime soon. But
a lot of rain.
But and the Riddler is a pretty far. He's my favorite Batman villain, and this version of him is a pretty far cry from anything that's come in the comics before. But I'm okay with it. I'm excited to see where they're going. It seems like you've seen it, have you, Jaemeel?
I did.
Yeah. So it seems like these movies are all really just origin stories for Batman's villains per se, and I'm okay with that. I'm excited to see where they're going to go with it, and it's really fun.
I kind of I'm fine with this movie. I don't need a sequel.
Oh, really? Oh, there's going to be more for sure. It made so much money. It made so much money. They're making more.
Yeah. I only had a couple issues with the movie, primarily the very, very, very end of the movie, which
like the theme, like the kind of like what the
who we meet at the very end.
I'm okay with that.
I didn't need that whatsoever. But
apparently that was an afterthought. They didn't really plan on putting it in originally. Then they thought about it later and did it. But
I wish
there's even a keep it clean.
There's even a plan to have that cameo earlier in the movie that they scrapped. So
I heard about that too.
Yeah.
Everyone's
there was a lot of
choices. Listeners.
There was a lot of choices that they made in the movie that I thought I wasn't sold on when I initially heard about it, but actually seeing the end result, very good, very great presentation. Not of just Batman being a hero, but a Batman being this force of nature that inspires fear. At the very beginning of the movie, they do a great job of just people like, I don't even want to talk about it. I want people to experience it. It's great. It's like, this is what Batman's supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. But also I love that, like, and once again, I don't want to ruin anything really, but unlike other versions of Batman, this one leans a little more into that. Sure, he's a weapon of fear against enemies, but he's also a beacon of hope, which I like seeing. And he's also not the snapping necks and shooting people in the face like Ben Affleck's Batman. So, like, we're getting like something closer to the Batman that we know and love as far as thematically goes. That he is a weapon. He turns the fear as a weapon, but also inspires good things from people as well. But and I think Colin Farrell's Penguin is a standout. But there's a scene in the movie, which this doesn't really ruin anything, but they show him a picture of something gruesome that happened to someone. He's like, oh, what are you showing me? And he's like, I don't want to see. He's like, oh, it's just so good. He's like this. He's like, he gets really upset by it. It's just really funny. He's like this gangster, but like seeing a guy's face.
You guys are up in spoilers now. Actually, so
they're not spoilers.
That's not a spoiler.
You're hearing this, and then you're gonna watch the movie.
You won't even know any of this stuff.
I'm not gonna watch the movie. It's a Batman movie anyway.
Oh yeah, you really don't like Batman.
What's working?
There's no time for angry words.
There's always time for angry words. Dad.
Baking, actually. I've always been a pretty good cook, but I was never a good. But lately, I'm figuring it out. Baking some bread, baking some banana bread. Banana bread. Well, baked made some today. It was delicious. Yeah.
Get us in the den of that co-host.
I'll send you some homemade breads.
I'll definitely keep up on that. Yeah. Where are you at?
That's what's working for me.
Where are you beaming in from?
I'm beaming in from the home of Michael Cera, Brampton, Ontario.
Oh, are you in Michael Cera's home right now?
I am not.
Okay.
It would be a lot darker. It would be a lot darker.
You just pan the camera and he's like tied up in the corner.
Speaking
of his work on Arrested Development.
Speaking of which, it is International Women's Day, International Working Women's Day, technically. and I'm wearing a purple hat and also repping one of my favorite movies of all time,
Ramona Flowers.
Scott Pilgrim, who works at the same place I work technically, but we don't need to say we don't need to say that if you don't know. I don't talk about it on any podcast I'm on.
That's interesting.
But yes, yes, Scott Pilgrim, Brampton.
I'm a big fan of Scott Pilgrim, so I can totally agree. Very nice.
All
Yes,
right, that brings us.
Say to our female listeners, hope you had a good day.
Yeah, definitely.
To our male
Happy International
listeners, get bent, but female wrestlers or female listeners, we love you.
Yes, to the male listeners, there's always tomorrow.
That's right. There's every other day of the year.
Yeah, there's every
that society is tailored towards you.
Yes. So until then, break the bias. Yes.
I wish everyone could be as happy as I am.
Our newest segment, The Joy of Jaemeel.
Aww.
Or,
what
if everyone gets a choice on the show, there's also
the joy of cooking to me. Oh,
Well, I
joy-
haven't cooked anything as of late.
or if you're really feeling like you need to get into it.
oh, that's a nice old Simpsons reference for our young
Yeah.
listeners.
That's great. That's great.
We don't have young listeners. It's all old nostalgia people, I guess.
Oh,
The joy of cooking for 40 Jameels. We'll leave it there.
okay. All right. Just recently I finished the television series The After Party. The
Oh, I
After
heard
Party,
about that.
yes, it's by Lord and Miller, that wonderful duo.
Mhm.
And it is about a high school reunion where one of the individuals has is a famous pop musician who is annoying and no one can stand them, and has a house party after the reunion where he ends up dead. And now there's a murder mystery to figure out who exactly killed Xavier. Not Charles Xavier, but Xavier. And each episode is from
Yeah.
a different person's point of view,
Right.
and it has a different theme / genre that it kind of focuses on. There's an animated episode, there's a rom-com episode, there's a musical episode, which is Ben Schwartzman, Raphael.
John Ralphio from
Yeah.
He's also the voice Sonic the Hedgehog in the new Sonic movie.
Yes, that's his episode.
And he's on was it that Space Force show?
Space
Netflix
Force.
as well? Yeah.
Space Force. I think people should check it out. I finished it. It was actually pretty good. What I would suggest is share your hypothesis, your theories with other people that you're watching with. It's a great show to kind of share your opinions. Don't go to the Reddit because the Reddit did a great job tracking the show while it was airing and practically learned what happened pretty early. So much so that the creators made a special video for them to applaud them and how great they were with all the different background clues and
Oh, cool. I like
different
shows
hidden
that you
stuff.
could actually figure out who murdered someone. I hate when it's like they throw something on the last episode that you never would have saw coming. Like, oh, the gardener that you hadn't seen before did this. You know what I mean? Like just some Deus Ex Machina. I like when it's actually something that you could figure out if you're paying attention.
I was watching the show. I had my own theories. Plus, I was on the Reddit page, and it kind of when the last episode came, I was like, "Yep, we were right."
No,
Practically. So
Very cool.
enjoy that. What else? Yellow Jackets. People should check out because that is so really weird. Also, I have one more, and I'm gonna not hurt myself, but like be so frustrated if I don't remember it. And it is Severance, which is the Adam Scott show.
I mean, what's that?
Yeah, it's about a person who works for a company like big conglomerate, like maybe Amazon per se, and where he works in a section where they have to separate himself to work there, so his work self does not coexist with his outside work self. So once he goes into an elevator, he ceases to exist, and his work self exists, and then vice versa when he comes out of it. And there is
Interesting.
a mystery that occurs that is kind of unfolding in the world. It has an amazing cast. You have Christopher Walken, you have John Turturro, you have Patricia Arquette.
I'm on board.
There's probably a whole ton of other people that I'm just forgetting, but it is excellent.
100%
Severance.
on board. Sounds great.
Glad y'all decided to join party.
This is where we party like it's apostrophe 97. But I don't have any new news. Do you, Andre?
I saw something. What was it? Let me see if I
Oh,
can
yeah?
find it. No, there's something that they were trying. I think it was just some fan thing where they're trying to tie it into something going on with something else, but not really.
Well, then let's just slide over to Great Expectations. And let's see what our guest Jaemeel, what his great expectations are for X-Men 97.
What storyline would you like to see them doing X-Men 97?
Wow. I would love. I see. I'm missing a whole chunk of what you all have mentioned before.
That's all right. Go ahead. No.
Doesn't matter.
I want them to cover it, / I don't want them to cover it, which is House and Powers of X.
Yeah, I was going to say House of X if
I want it. I have to admit,
it'd be pretty cool.
It's I was away from X-Men books so much that I felt like there was a huge disconnect between me and the series, and there had been since Morrison's run. I know people love that run.
I love it so much. It's so much. It's so good.
I was collecting Gen X at that time, and they basically killed that series because Morrison wanted full control of the X-Men, and they consolidated a lot of the X-Men stories. So I'm always bitter against that situation. And what they did to Jubilee, X-Corp, and New Warriors. But I think it's an amazing story. House of X, Powers of X. What they do with Moira McTaggart and the X-Men mythos really, I never could. I never believed that I would get such a far-reaching, so intricate of a story that emotionally affected me as it did. / if I want to be more realistic as to what I want to see, I want an R-rated X-Men 97, but it focuses on X-Force / Ecstatic, Mike Allred's run.
I did that last week. I said I wanted to say I wanted them to join.
Ecstatics showing up would be very cool. It doesn't need to be R-rated to be Ecstatics. I mean,
I need people dying in the first episode.
All the time. All the time. No, that's great.
Ghost, you can get away with that for PG-13.
All right, I'm gonna throw some. I'm just gonna do a character this time since I did. I'm gonna throw some love at Morrison's run because Jaemeel's shitting all over it.
I didn't shit over it.
I know. I'm just kidding. I want to see Phantom
It's all
X.
the leather. It's making people nervous.
Phantom X.
I want to see Phantom X appear in the X-Men 97 series.
Just to see if people can figure out what's going on. He's such a complex, confusing character. I like
they'll streamline. Just tie the Weapon X. That's all you really need.
Oh yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah,
I'm glad you didn't say Zorn though.
I said Zorn a while ago.
He already has.
Yeah, I've already said Zorn. That's why I didn't.
Which Zorn?
It's going to be next week, Cassandra Cain. So there you go.
Cassandra Nova.
I'm just doing everything. Oh yeah, sorry. No, Cassandra Cain is Batwoman. Yes, Cassandra Nova.
Cassandra Nova. Well, I think that.
And then a couple weeks from now, you'll say Maggot.
Here, fellas.
All right. It's been a good. It's going to be good with their hair.
You can contact us at the X-Men Review Show.
I think by calling yourself Hairbag, you should have had a Jamaican accent the whole time. Why me know you coming here to look at me, X-Men?
Oh my god. You gotta be careful with the Jamaican accent because if you go too hard, it turns closer to an Italian accent.
That's true. It's true. Hey, gabagoo.
You can follow us on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube. Check us out
And
on the
email us.
YouTubes if
Send
you
us
want
an
to
email.
look
Tell
at
me
us.
how great I am.
And you can we're wherever you get your podcast if you don't want to look at it. You can hear the audio version.
Can't say blame you.
And yeah.
So
And,
we plug the other stuff.
What
plug-
do you got
plug it?
going on?
Well, I got a
Well, Jaemeel
podcast later
stuff you
tonight. I got D Space Nine.
My favorite X-Men show, or my favorite Star Wars show, Deep Space Nine.
Yes. Live Long and Podcast. We have Star Trek D Space 9 at 9 tonight.
You guys just go through episodes in that one, or what do you do?
We are going from the very beginning all the way through the series. We're at
What episode are you on tonight?
Season 4, I think we're
Ooh, I
on.
think
Things
so,
past,
too.
isn't it? No, season 5 now.
Yeah, season 5. Sorry, it's past tense or
Past tense.
it's
Oh,
the
No,
it's
things
it's
past. Things past.
things
It's called
past.
things past, not past tense. Past tense is
Yes.
better.
This is the
Things past
Odo
is good though.
the Odo
Garrick's in
flashback
it, so
episode.
it's
I also do
Yeah.
on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Mondays. Part of the Super Mater Brothers podcasting network. We don't even use that logo yet.
I do here.
We
Yeah.
started.
We're covering Big Brother Canada, which is doing its season 10, and we do it about 3 times a week, covering that show. And also, we're going to be starting Survivor this week as well. Survivor every Wednesday, covering that. So a lot of podcasts you can hear me on.
No, awesome.
Also brag a little, Jaemeel.
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but you know what? I'm going to spoil it.
Oh
Trivial
yeah, right. Good
debates.
point. Good.
Trivial debates. I already went with it. Trivial debates. Last episode, which was I think 2 Sundays ago, I won. I went into arena
Watch
with
it
a
anyway.
longtime champ, Jody, who's the most winningest a debater, and I busted him up. I busted up a newcomer also, using his own arguments later on that I defeated earlier on to win. So it's a very fun episode. We have like debates as to what's the worst movie with a great soundtrack that makes it into a good movie. What is the biggest 80s?
Why don't you ask Andre if the answer to that is Rocky or Jaemeel? God.
I put Rocky.
I put
4.
all my money on Jaemeel, and he had me my heart pumping there by the end.
Rocky 4, and
Rocky
I think
4 is only good because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, that
Yes.
makes no sense, right?
Oh no, that makes no sense.
if you listen to my debate, I did it very. I think I did a very great job with it.
I'm sure.
Yeah, you won that debate. Or did
Yeah,
you?
that one I did win.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of movies like Streets of Fire. Maybe I'm trying to think of other movies that have like epic soundtracks that aren't that great of a movie.
So
Mortal Kombat.
Nah, the first one was fun.
The movies I went against in that category, maybe that might make you feel a little bit better, was Frozen 2. No, it was Frozen 1, wasn't it? It was Frozen 1. It was
That's like
Frozen.
that's a universally beloved movie.
So Frozen 1, and also it's Judgment Night. So
I
it
didn't
was
see that movie.
Judgment Night, Frozen, and Rocky 4.
I know the soundtrack to Judgment Night is well loved by a lot of people, so that
Yes.
might make sense.
It's new metal.
Well,
Yes, oh yeah, full.
if
new
we're
metal.
gonna get you DS9 on time, we gotta power through this. Check out my podcast, Locutors of Trek. We got an episode on space coming up. Space of Star Trek. Yeah. We do vague themes and we get deep. What do you got going on there, Andre? I know you got a guest coming on the Graphic Histories podcast.
It was tight. I had a few people pull out, so I had to scramble, and I found a great guest. I have Ron Sutton coming on the show, who is our former artist for Dark Horse and a bunch of other comics. He did some comic issues of Fear Agent, which is the Great Rick Remender series. He also did a ton, I think, all the issues for the Elvira comic series.
Wow.
Yeah, I know he's a very cool guy. He's a good friend of Jeff Ursherwood, who I had in the show not too long ago. Who's very interesting talk as well. So I'm going to be talking with him Thursday night, recording that, and we'll be on the air Saturday at the usual time, which is 7 a.m. I believe is when it comes on our Atlantic Standard Time. So whatever that is for the rest. Very nice. Look at those.
Oh, Jameel's playing with toys. Is that
Right.
Storm in a
It is
invisible
Storm
jet?
Oh yeah.
Beast with little glasses.
Oh well. I like it. Those are
don't
pretty
have any
slick.
X-Men toys
Also, if you
here.
want a T-shirt, we can make you one to look like this.
Oh
We'll
my
do
gosh,
it.
that's so awesome! I gotta get me one of those
your
shirts.
T-shirt. All right, there we go. They're hot. They're going
Thank
hot.
you very
Get
much.
'em
Your
before they're
homework
gone.
next week. Your homework next week is to watch the sequel episode of this series, which is
Mhm.
called, what was it called? I said it earlier. I forget now.
Whatever it
Hold
takes.
on.
Oh,
Whatever
this
It
is a
Takes is
Storm
right, 'cause-
episode written by former guest Julia Lee Wald.
So yeah, that's your
So,
homework watch.
Yeah.
And
Check
anyway,
it out,
thanks so much for
everybody.
being on the show, Jaemeel.
Thank you for having me. It's great. I love it.
Well, we're anytime you want to come back, we're so good.
Oh, that was a very nice Wolverine.
You have an open invitation.
Yeah.
He laughed at my jokes. I like him, Davin. So keep rolling.
Bye.
All right. Catch you next time, everybody.
Bye bye.
1, 2, 3.